Welcome to the True Body Intelligence Podcast. My name's Lee Maher, and I'm your host. And today, we are going to get into flow and what flow affects. Like, we'll come up with a definition for it through the True Body Intelligence pathway. So you understand that we look at things slightly different or dramatically different, depending on what your position is. And flow for me relates to money, it relates to opportunity, it relates to success, it relates to a willingness to risk, it relates to ease and flow and grace versus struggle and strife. So, I guess really the question from me to you is, why keep it hard when you can make it easy?
And we're back.
We are back. We are we were testing the mics earlier, and I was going back into my old rap days of the microphone check, and so I'm still in that playful mood. And for me, it's always exciting to talk about things that I know that are going to be really impactful and give a different slant that no one was aware of. And then, because once people become aware of something, they're going to take some action, because we have some ambitious people in the world. So, we're back.
And I feel the playfulness relates directly to our subject today.
1000%.
Which is money, business, success, wealth. Everything has connected with having it a little easier in life and being playful and enjoy the life that we have. So what would be the first entry point? How do we dive into the subject?
Well, I think it relates to the episode before. The way that we're putting this together for you guys is so that each breadcrumb needs to the next breadcrumb that you can follow. So I think the way that I look at resources and opportunities and one's ability to successfully express themselves and achieve or experience whatever they want to experience. Some people, they want to be happy. It's different than I want to go to Hawaii for the summer. You think that's what's going to make you happy. And then there's I'm happy wherever I go. So where I go is irrelevant, right? There's nothing outside of me that's going to make me more happy, because happiness is an internal state of being. And happiness belongs to which organ? The brain. And we got into last episode was, we got into the alignment process and turning both hemispheres on electrically. Well, guess what? When your hemispheres are turned off electrically, you think you're happy or unhappy. Well, you're leaning towards unhappy. When both hemispheres are turned on electrically, you have direct access to happiness. So when we think about flow, right? We think about success, we think about business, and, I'm an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur, our lighting guy, Rafal, he's an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurs are every day, they're taking a risk, right? So in order to make our risk less risky, the prudent action to take would be to follow the steps that we brought up earlier, right? We talked about the first tier of wellness, the lungs, the large intestine, the spleen, and the stomach. And then we talked about turning on the mental body, and then turning on the emotional body, the emotional brain. So now you got the thinking brain, and then you have the emoting brain. Well, in order to be in a flow state, those two centers have to be turned on. And even if it's 10% better than what you got right now, guess what the effect of that is going to be? 10% more opportunities towards what? Towards avenues that could generate some more what for you? Some more money. Some could generate a new space for you to share your passion, whatever that is. Like, who cares if you chop wood for a living? Like, if that's what like stirs you up, then great. Maybe you make surfboards for a living. Well, when you're in a deep flow state and you make a surfboard, it's gone off the shelf like in a couple days. When you're in a difficult space, meaning you're in a stagnated state, so stagnated state's the opposite of a flow state. What does it imply? It implies that my brain is in a lateralized state of function and one hemisphere is somewhat turned off electrically. It also means that my emotional brain, which is run by psoas major and minor, are also short and tight and disconnected. So if I turn all that on, I'm automatically in a much deeper flow state. The end result of that is more what? More opportunities, which leads to the potential to have more resources, right? When you get bigger opportunities, you have access to more resources. Now you can create more impact because you have more money. You can go, oh, well, what's my heart project? What's the thing that I want to do? What's the contribution that I want to give to the world that has nothing to do with me receiving money, right? It's more of a spiritual focus for you. You know, maybe you want to start an organization that benefits children in some way, right? Maybe you want to create an organization that benefits struggling artists. Maybe you want to start an organization that helps elderly women get out of their wheelchairs and take a walk every day. Like, whatever it is that you want to do, there's two ways to get it done. You can either be in a state of struggle and strife, or you can be in a state of ease and grace. So what does ease and grace mean? It means effortless effort, right? I think about something, and it manifests into reality. I think about someone, and I run into him at the grocery store. So when you're in struggle and strife, everything is work. Every detail. Okay, honey, we're ready for dinner. No, babe, I gotta go back and I gotta do the books now. Okay, so how long is that gonna take? Oh, I should be done in about an hour, and then I can calm down and feel like it. Well, we're already gonna be done eating. Well, if I eat, then what if I get tired and I don't get the books done? And, you know, I gotta see the tax guy on Friday. Like, I'm already behind. So everything is an effort. Like an enormous, little things are big things. When you're in a state of flow, meaning your brain is turned on electric, full power, your emotional body, your emotional brain is turned on full power, big things become little things. Okay, so let me say that again. When you're in struggle and strife, little things become big things. When you're in ease and grace and effortless effort, big things are little things. What do we mean by that? We mean that in order for your brain to be in a lateralized state of function, you have to have a massive amount of unresolved stress. Well, guess what? Every human I've ever met has a massive amount of unresolved stress, which, whether it's difficult to hear or not, that includes you. Okay? So if you're watching, that includes you. I get it. Guess what? You can get on the other train now. You don't have to be on the struggle bus. There's no need. Why would you want to be there if there's no actual benefit to struggle except for the first time that you struggle? So why continue to keep doing something that actually has no benefit? Well, when you're in a flow state, struggle is allergic to you. it never wants to be around you, right? But when you're in a lateralized state of function, emotionally or mentally, struggle is like doing everything it can to attach to you. But why is it doing it? It's doing it to attempt to remind you that, hey, there's another way. And it's going to keep knocking on your door till you finally figure out whatever it is you got to do to get into a consistent flow state. And through the true body intelligence pathway, we're suggesting that let's make it easy. Like, this is guaranteed. It's tried and true. We've tested it thousands of times. If you are courageous enough to transmute or transfigure the tension in your physical body, transmute the limiting beliefs of your mom and your dad, their inner deficiencies and insecurities and fears, and then you go see someone who helps you get your brain in alignment and somebody who helps you get your body in alignment, guess what's going to happen? Things are going to be easy. Why? Because the conception vessel is the center for manifestation. Right? And the Taoists, right, the Taoist monks that went into caves for months at a time to meditate and to turn their senses inward and to look at what was actually going on, they would tell you that yes, the conception vessel is where violet light emanates from. And violet light is the only light that is able to do what? Duplicate itself.
Can you say more on that? What does that mean?
That means it can duplicate itself. Okay? So if you have intercourse with your girlfriend through your conception vessels and your seed meets her egg, what's going to happen to those cells?
Multiply.
They duplicate themselves. Right? And now as they're duplicating, they're creating a completely new being. Right? But when you go to the bathroom, okay, or when you urinate, your urine isn't creating more urine. Your bowel movement isn't creating more bowel movement, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I'm asking specifically about the violet light.
The violet light, every organ is connected to a specific color of light, right? So the lungs, what color? They're white. The heart, well, go to a Valentine's Day dinner. What are people wearing? Red. Okay, why are they wearing red? Because red is the color associated with the heart, right? The lungs are associated with white. What does cigarette smoke do to the white lungs? It makes them black, right? What do they call the disease? They're called black lung. All right, so we already know that in modern culture, at a unconscious level, we already associate colors with organs, okay? So what are the kidneys? Blue, all right? Spleen and pancreas, gold to yellow, all right? Liver, green. So sexual organs, violet. And violet light is the only light that has the ability to duplicate itself. So why would we want to work with that energy? Why would the first step be to light up the brain and the second step to light up the conception vessel? Because the conception vessel holds the violet light. And now I can duplicate, and I take that violet light. And now all that energy is coming, and I drive it through my exercises. Lung, large intestine, spleen, and stomach. What am I now creating? I'm creating more powerful chi and energy to flow through those organs, through those channels. But what's the light that's making it happen? The light that makes it happen is violet light. Any more questions?
So what I would ask is, if we approach it from the perspective of the energy of the light, what would it translate into? How does it translate into our actions? Like, what is it that we do in order to work with the violet light in this particular case?
Meaning, well, there's nothing to do, because once the violet light is available, right, all you're doing is setting an intention for what it is you want to experience.
Mm.
And now that energy begins the manifestation process.
Oh, so the violet light is the manifesting
It's a
light.
center, it's a center for manifestation.
Okay, that's the part that I was missing. So, okay, so it is manifesting. This is why sexual energy is also manifesting energy?
It's also the same energy as money,
I see.
right? So when your sexual energy is clogged, right? So think about someone who was young and went through some level of sexual stress. Super smart, very ambitious, hardworking, and relative to their potential and their intellect, they're not having like the financial success that is relative to what they're actually offering. And the question is why? It's because the sexual channel is closed, right? And when that sexual channel is closed, there's less violet light available to begin to manifest. See, in manifestation, there is no action. I'm simply like, oh, I would love to have that experience. So let's take two couples, right? You got Gene and Bob and Gert and Bart, right? And Gene says, honey, I've been thinking about going to Hawaii. I want to get there. It's going to happen. And he's like, what? And then he says, babe, you always manifest everything that you want to experience. I have no idea how you do this, but somehow it always lands on our doorstep. And you got the other couple. You got Gert, Bart, and Gert's like, I want to go to Hawaii for the summer. And Bart's like, okay, well, we're going to do that. What we need to do is we need to cut down our cell phone bill. We need to pay off our credit card first. We've got all these things we need to do, right? But see, manifesting is never in the doing. It's in the world of being. So who do you think is going to Hawaii first? The other couple's going, because she's in a state of being, and she knows, oh my God, all I have to do is keep thinking about this thing that I want to experience. And sure enough, 3 months later, she gets a phone call from one of her coworkers. You know, you are always going on about Hawaii, blah, 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 and I know this is going to make your day. It's a terrible day for us. I got to share something with you. Bob broke his leg. He was fixing something on the roof. He fell off the roof, and the doc says he can't go anywhere for 6 months. And guess what we have? We have these tickets that are non-refundable. So they will allow us to transfer them to someone. And you've been such a good friend to me my whole life. I think that these tickets were always meant for you. And then she starts crying. Oh, I'm so happy. I can't believe this has worked out. And then boom, that's manifestation. Right? Was there any doing involved? No, the only doing was her focusing on her intent of what it is she wanted to experience. But old Gert and Bart, well, guess where they're at? They're sitting at home in Chicago wishing they were in Hawaii. And they're there because, see, they have the ability to access manifestation through being. He thinks that in order to have the experiences that I want, I have to focus on doing.
Well, that's most people in the world today, right?
Yes, that's most people in the world today. And so how do you shift into a state, a greater state of manifestation? We answer that question by answering the question you asked a while ago, which was like, well, what's the purpose of me doing this every day? Well, the purpose of doing this on a semi-consistent basis is every day you're accessing more violet light, which makes manifestation so much easier. So you can be on the struggle bus, right? Our ancestors, right? My ancestors, they were on the struggle bus. Both sides of my family. Struggle, 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 struggle. Or you can be on the ease and grace speedboat, right? That actually floats above the water. So there's no bumps. You're in the ocean, but you're above the water, right? So you're removing the resistance. And so when you're in doing, you're adding resistance. When you're in being, you're removing the resistance. Because see, in being, everything is possible. In doing, it's only possible if I do. And so when your brain is operating in a lateralized state of function, it's difficult to see the value in being, and you place all of your esteem on what you're doing. And if you've been rewarded for your doing, oh, you take your doing very seriously. And the more seriously you take your doing, the harder your work is.
And this is the vicious cycle, basically.
And this is the cycle of ease and grace or struggle and strife. I mean, every human has a right to be on either train, right? And you have to decide, well, which train do I want to get on, right? I've done the doing train. It only got me this far, right? Maybe I'll do a little bit more of this being. Well, how do I do that? You simply reduce your lifetime accumulated stress load. You turn on your analytical brain, your electrical brain, and you turn on your magnetic emotional body. And then ease and grace is right around the corner. And you can hop on that train tomorrow. Of course, you have to know somebody like me in order to be able to turn those parts on for you. So anyone who's listening has a distinct advantage because they can get a hold of me. Hopefully they take prudent action. They go to my website, truebodyintelligence.com, and they order the book. And they already start doing the energetic integrations, and they start moving into states of ease and grace and turning on more of their system versus staying in this cycle of struggle. And look, here's the truth. People get used to hard work, and so then what happens is their esteem gets connected to hard work. Like, oh, I gotta work hard. Like that's what makes me a man. Okay? True, and it's a limiting belief. Right?
So basically, we're talking about here moving from the state of believing that everything is in a doing to moving to the state of just knowing that as long as you be in a certain state, it will manifest everything around you.
Yes, the state that you're in is relative and reflective to what it is you will experience.
Is it possible to have a healthy relationship with doing?
Yes, because when you're in being, doing is fun, right? Otherwise, doing is doing.
You're doing out of playfulness versus doing out of must.
Yeah, like for me, like what we're doing here, does this feel like work to you?
No, not really.
So for me, this feels like 100% play. You?
I don't know. I feel like I don't think of it in these terms. It just feels enjoyable. So I guess, but see, this is the thing. I don't want to go back and forth on this, but like to me, I now pick most of my job. I pick only things that I enjoy more. So in that sense, yeah.
Yeah. You're all in and doing things that are enjoyable for you, right? That are fun, playful, interesting. Okay.
Something I grow through.
Yeah.
That I feel that I'm actually growing as a person versus just doing it for the money.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So because you went through the process, you shared with me, right? You picked up a dumpster truck and went to the landfill, and whoosh, that's all gone. You created a whole new life for yourself. You had already done the doing, right? So you know the limitations of that. But just think, our brothers and sisters are out there in the world, and the majority of them are stuck in that, right? And here's the kicker though, if we reduce their lifetime accumulated stress load, you know what would happen? They would actually be enjoying what they're doing.
They'd be in a much more comfortable state, so...
They would be in a state of being. And so now the thing that they were thinking they didn't really like, they actually really do like, right? When your brain is turned on electrically, both hemispheres, you can see clearly that what you're doing is part of your purpose. When you're turned off electrically, in terms of one hemisphere, you're always in some sort of doubt of like, oh, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this really the right woman? Is this really the right situation? You're in that constant cycle of confusion. And it's very difficult to be enjoying whatever you're doing when you're in a constant state of confusion.
I see. How do we, I guess and maybe this is my thinking mind, but I keep thinking like, so the message is clear to me and I'm sure to the audience, but what are we saying in terms of, what are we saying in terms of doing? Nothing, right? You just accept that that's the case, basically?
Yeah, like doing is doing is action, right?
So nobody has to do anything, they just have to accept the truth of the matter?
No.
Okay.
When you're in action and you're in being while in action, you're having enjoyable action. Mm. When you're out of being and you're in action, you're simply in action.
Mm. So it's just empty. It's doing for the sake of doing.
It's separate from your emotional body. And this is the point of turning on the emotional body.
I see.
So that whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're cutting wood or delivering water, you're having an enjoyable time while that's going on. And if that's happening, no matter what you're doing, your being is happy. And so then it makes the doing irrelevant.
I see.
But how are you going to get into a state of being when electrically one hemisphere is turned off and your emotional brain is silenced? There's very little chi, energy, consciousness, and intelligence flowing through that part of your body. Like, show me anyone who has back discomfort or stiffness, and I can promise you that that channel for them is closed off. One of the hemispheres is turned off electrically, and their emotional body is shut down. And what I mean by that is that the muscles associated with the hip flexors, psoas major and minor, okay, that's what we're talking about, rather than the other hip flexors. Psoas major and minor, when they're short and tight, my access to those feelings and emotions is very small. It's in a relative sense. But if they're long and strong, now it's also in a relative sense. And now my enjoyment while I'm doing is high versus disconnected and low, putting me in a mental state that's unwell.
I see.
Feeds back into mental wellness, right? So this is where the body becomes the life, and then the life becomes the emotions, and then emotions become the mental state.
I see.
You see?
So we awaken the emotional body, and then we focus on the being, and then the natural state will basically manifest anything that we feel that should be there, or that we would enjoy.
Yeah, and it takes practice, right? Like because people are manifesting at a subconscious level all the times, all the things that they would rather not experience, right? They're manifesting that all the time. So when you realize that you're the creator of your own reality, even though it's a co-created reality, when you're aware of your thoughts, now when you catch a limiting belief, you get to reframe. Yet if I'm so absent mentally that I'm constantly creating these limiting beliefs, and now I have a limited life, if I'm unaware, there's no way for me to catch the limiting belief and reframe it. If I reframe this limiting belief 100 times, eventually, what happens to that limiting belief? It disappears. It goes away. And what's it get replaced by? The exact opposite belief.
I see. But then, is it really a matter of belief at that point? Or is it just the truth of the matter?
I mean, a belief is only a thought that you keep thinking again and again and again. The end result is the outcome of having a different belief.
It's like a steering mechanism.
Yeah, it's like it's like the rails on for a train, right? Well, the train we're talking about getting on is the train that's the ease and grace train, the flow state train. And the reason why we're taking the time to teach this to people is so they realize that we're giving you a mental construct, okay, so that you can track action. Yet the mental construct that I'm giving you is irrelevant. What's most important is that you take action and you turn on your brain and you turn on your emotional brain, right? Your analytical brain at the top, the electricity, your emotional brain at the bottom, your magnetism. Turn those both on and you will see that you automatically shift in that state. It isn't a choice. We are going to put you there. And there's no way of getting out of it. And once you're there, you're there. It's like if you were my son and I taught you how to ride a red bike when you were 7, even if you throw that bike in the trash when you're 9, and then you meet your fiance when you're 27, and she goes, hey, let's go ride that bike. You go, okay. She goes, well, you paused for a second. Do you know how to ride a bike? Yeah, I know how to ride a bike. And you get on the bike, maybe the first 3 rotations of the pedals is a little, but by the 5th and 6th one, you're going to be riding that bike. So what I mean by that is this moment we get you there, you're there. And yet, the inverse is also true. If we never get you there or put you there, you've never been there. And so the things that we're talking about are basically states that most human beings have never experienced at their fullness. Maybe they dipped into it here and there and here, okay? I'm talking about a solid base state that is a permanent state that you live from.
Okay, so we talk quite a bit about the flow state that brings us to manifestation and violet light. How does this relate to practical matters that manifest themselves in our business life, in our financial life? How do we bridge from this? How do we talk about practical moves, and in what ways it's actually connected?
The left brain beings, practical and pragmatic, right? How do we do that? Let's give them time to think about it, right? About all the information and download that we gave them. And then we'll get into a much deeper expression of flow state as it relates to how they can change how they're going about doing things in their daily life. And some of the other organs and channels of energy and consciousness that are necessary to turn on to be able to be more in charge of the direction that you're going, as opposed to being at the effect of life. That sounds good to me.
Okay, I'm excited to hear about it. So we spoke quite a bit about the flow state and how it helps us manifest. How do we connect this to more practical matters, or on the surface more practical matters, like how do we translate this to how we function in business and how we manage our money and how we manage our financial journey throughout life? Is there a step there that you usually teach people?
Yeah, I mean, there's something to integrate in their body. Like, I always feel like when you go through the body, what's going to happen is you can access that. Well, you're going to have the realization that there's discomfort in there, right? And I'm the type of person that whenever I find pain in my body, I do everything that I can to remove it. And most of the people that are attracted to the things that I'm doing in the world have a similar orientation. So my assumption is that you're one of these people. And so one of the parts of the body that is known for holding a massive amount of stress and tension is the short head and the long head of your lateral hamstring. And that muscle has a channel of energy that runs directly through it called the bladder meridian in Chinese medicine. And there's an inherent level of intelligence in that channel that's all around taking action. It's a masculine channel, right? And so I think there's valuable things to learn in this upcoming episode that's going to help you be able to know what to do and when to do it and how to do it, so that you can create a more successful financial or change your relationship with resources and abundance to a level where you feel really comfortable and safe financially. I think that's a good place for us to complete. Thank you for tuning in to today's content. This will be made available in its full form of everything we put together for you at truebodyintelligence.com. And at truebodyintelligence.com, you can tune into my book, Free for Life, a U.S. Navy SEAL's unique journey to inner freedom and outer peace. And there I will teach you at a much deeper level. And this will be really, really, really good reference tool for you. Plus, the audiobook has an opportunity to allow you to start the program already by purchasing the one with the energetic integrations, and that will help you get started. All of this content will also be available on all major platforms: Apple Podcast, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, and YouTube.